All right, episode 4,
Good one.
Modern Wisdom with Ben Shapiro. It's titled "Has America Completely Lost Its Mind?" A little dramatic, a little clickbait there. Don't worry about it. It's a great episode. I really enjoyed this one. Ben proved once again how much of a nerd he is, and honestly, that's my favorite part about him is he's just a big nerd, and he just goes into detail and always. You don't want to ask Ben a question you don't want the answer to, the full answer to, the 105% of the answer to.
Yep.
So they go over politics to start, kind of typical Ben stuff for the first 40 minutes. And then he gets into more of his work ethic and kind of what makes him tick and things he observes with work ethic and the importance of it. And then they start talking about relationship dynamics and stuff like that. And then they get into their views on family structure. So that's kind of the outline of it. I thought it was a really good episode. Sterling, what were your thoughts?
I had it at a 65. I remember liking it the first time, being excited to cover it with you. And then I just listened to it this morning again. It was it was a chore the second time. So that kind of, I don't know. But yeah, Ben's he's one of those people I like to populate my news feeds and my podcast because he's a smart person that speaks his mind. He has his own views. It's not like the same thing over and over again. I don't agree with everything he says, but I like listening to those opinions.
Yeah, he definitely seems to be an independent thinker.
Yeah,
And he'll back it up.
that's for sure.
Yeah, so that was your first actual tough rating you gave Sterling for a podcast, the 65. Love to see that. And
Hey,
it is.
I
Yeah, go
also
ahead.
listened to it on 1.75 speed. Wait, and Ben's a
Wow.
fast talker
I was
already.
gonna say that's like 2.2.
It was a lot. It was really
Dude,
fast.
that's funny. I think it's a great indicator, since we started doing this, is how good podcasts are, is how they go the second time. It's really interesting. You really get a clear view of how good the podcast is.
Yeah.
And with that, the second time I listened to it, I think the first 50 minutes is kind of like what I said was all of his political stuff. And that was really dull, mainly because it's like what you see out of Ben all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say that first 50 minutes is maybe a little bit more stereotypical Ben Shapiro before you get into the modern wisdom discussion and kind of get out of Ben's like spiel. The first getting into the second half, I think, is we're going to get some more better content out of the podcast. But I had it at 80. I liked it a lot. I think I just like talking with nerds and listening to nerds. And
Is
like,
that why you
there's
wanted to do this podcast with me?
No, maybe. I didn't think about it like that.
Are you voting? Are you voting this year?
Yeah, I'll vote. Um, I originally really wanted to vote for RFK, but I don't think I'm going to be voting for him anymore.
You live in a state that doesn't matter. So do I. I don't plan on voting. To be honest.
I think this would be a good question if that was asked, but I think because he's very big on like not breaking like rules, because if you break a rule, like especially his religious rule, it can like undermine a bigger goal. And that's not how I think about for voting, is like, hey, voting doesn't really matter, especially in my state. But I think it's like a bigger idea of like, I can at least say I voted and you couldn't take that from me. I did at least the small task I was able to do.
You did your democratic duty.
Yeah. And I know you probably don't think it's worth it because it's illogical. Why do I do it if it's not going to do anything? But there's an idea behind it, right? That's how I think of it.
Yeah. That makes sense. I wouldn't blame you for it.
I hope not. You idiot. Freaking phone. Yeah, so let's dive into a little bit more. One of the things he talked about early on with, he's kind of like an overachiever, and he kind of goes into detail about the characteristics in his life about that. And one of the important things that he said he's worked on recently is bifurcating his work and family life. Like he was always letting his work life bleed into his family life. And one thing he mentioned that overachievers do a lot is so they allow their work life to bleed into their family life and kind of take happiness away from their family life. And I was wondering if you kind of ever had to work with that, experience that, or it was easy for you to do.
It was always easy for me. I think I had an advantage where my work was classified, so you can't take it home by definition. There's some nights where I lose sleep thinking about work. There's some nights where I come home and I'm just exhausted, so I don't have the energy for my family. So that affects them. But as far as thinking about it, no, I'm pretty good at just turning that thing off as soon as I leave.
Yeah, I think so. Thinking about it is one thing, and talking about it's another. Obviously, you can't talk about yours. I can't talk about mine not because it's classified because nobody gives a shit. So nobody wants to hear me talk about it. Um,
I'd listen.
and yeah, well, yeah, you do. But that's why we're having this podcast is because we got to find more people. I got to find more people that will listen to me. But another thing is, I think a lot of people, whether or not like they bring it home or talk about it or think about it, a lot of people let their work life affect their personal life. Like if they have a bad day, they'll like bring a bad day back with them.
Yeah.
And one thing I was talking to my wife about
Dad, when are
is,
you done? When are you gonna be done?
what's up, Max?
What?
Really, buddy? We're doing a podcast.
When are you gonna be done?
When I'm done. Go play.
After you
Go
swim?
play. Shut the door. Go play.
Can we swim?
Maybe. That's fine. What were you
I
saying?
do Jersey. Yeah, like one thing I always keep in mind, I think we probably do the same thing, is like work is a means to do what you want in life and have a happy life. So I really think about that. Like if I have a bad day at work, like I don't let it come home and uh, affect me when I get home or in my social life because like the whole reason I'm working is to enjoy my life. So like why would I let it affect my life, you know? It was like do the complete opposite of why you're working.
Yeah. I look at working as like that's what you do to provide.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, yeah, you got to do it. There's no other way around it. Are you? I'm curious. Are you on either side of the aisle? Are you Democrat or are you a Republican?
So a lot of people, everyone says in the middle.
Yeah, no one is.
I'm independent. I've only voted Republican, so I don't have to say I'm Republican. I've only had one election to vote in.
Why are you on that
So,
side?
well, I mean, the first election is 2020, and Biden against Trump. It just, I think in my times I've voted, Republicans have seemed to have supported a better economical plan, and it seems like they're going to allow the economy to function better, just kind of being a more capitalistic economy, and not interfering with private companies and stuff like that. I like that part of it. And then socially, um, I align with more of the Republican views.
Hmm.
I think a lot of people turn Democrat because of the social views and don't like the economic views of Democrats, but the social views are more important to them, which isn't necessarily my case, but I feel like I see that a lot.
Yeah, it feels like the social has shifted. Like in the 90s, if you're a Republican, it means you didn't like gays. But now, if you're Republican, I don't care. Like, how many Republicans actually care? And then the left went further crazy.
Yeah, I think the social issues are what trend on social media too. It's what catches traction. Real smooth. And
Did you like the
that's what,
part about it seems like people vote against somebody rather than for now?
yeah, I mean, I think that's pretty obvious. I think that's why
That's
Kamala's
sad
gotten
though.
so much. why Kamala's got so much traction is because there's less people that are against her than that were against Joe Biden, you know?
Yeah.
So she got all the people who were just voting against Joe Biden. Not all of them, but a good portion of them.
Yeah, when he said that, it was not only like, did that like completely resonate? Like I haven't liked a politician, and I don't know how since I've been paying attention. And so it's just weird to think of a world where you're picking between your favorite politicians rather than your least favorite. Like
Yeah.
that's so sad. That's so sad.
Is there someone you would like to see make the primaries?
My vote would be David Smith. I'm a big libertarian. If it was, it's funny. If I could give my democratic powers to someone, it'd be him. And that's what kind of the idea of a representative. Like, I don't want to think about politics. I just want to say, this guy thinks like me, and I'm okay with him representing me. He's got 2 votes now instead of 1. And it's so sad that all of our representatives aren't that way. There's not a single senator I'd point to and be like, yeah, I want my name to be attached to him.
Yeah. It's hard because, like, do you feel there's anything we can do about it?
I don't know. It seems it's hard to imagine this 2-party system losing its grip, but I think we have something really interesting with RFK and Tulsi Gabbard and Twitter and podcasts now.
I think podcasts have been the biggest
Yeah.
kind of freeing from the political corruption.
Yeah.
It's a media that doesn't seem like it's influenced by anything.
Yeah.
Which it is to a small extent.
There's a million of those ones that are set up by the system. They all suck.
All the Waveform one, or what is the podcast that have like, I think it's like Waveform or something. I can't stand listening to any of those.
Oh, these guys just spew the same crap that you see on CNN. Okay. See ya.
Yeah.
No, I've been supporting whoever is going to make the government smaller. And right now that's the Republicans. Vivek was awesome because I thought that was his main point. And I really like that Trump and Elon are talking about the Government Efficiency Agency. I have not been excited about something more politically than
that came out of nowhere.
Yeah, that was awesome though. But who better, right? He just did it with Twitter, right? 80% of the employees. I think government agencies, and I work with some of them, you could trim so much fat out of them. So I mean, you get to different private companies, and there's waste in there because you can't fire anybody because the incentive structures aren't great. But I look across the aisle to the government side, and oh my goodness, there are a lot of people that don't do a lot of stuff for your tax dollars.
I think it's just a simple fact of you can't fire them. Like, if you have employees that don't worry about getting fired, then how do you motivate them?
Right. Well, I think that's more of a private. So the government has that problem too, but it's worse than that. It's like there's no expectations. There's not like, if we hit this milestone, we all get more money. There's none of that. There's none of those expectations or incentives to really get them going. If we need something done at 3:30 on a Friday and it requires the customer, there's like one guy we can call on that team.
Good luck with that.
That cares.
You think he's
the rest, yeah. And I'm coming from a factory where we worked literally 364 days a year. Christmas we shut down. That was it. The rest of the time we were in there. And now it's like this place will throw away 2 months out of the year for all the holidays they take. But
I get all the government holidays where I work. It's nice since we work with the State Department. We share all their holidays.
You have a government customer too. What have
Yeah.
you seen?
Yeah, I don't know if I want to speak much on that question.
That's okay. That's fine. That's fine. We'll go on. I got one. So I would say I'm pro conspiracy right now. I've shifted quite a bit to conspiracy land. And so Ben was poo-pooing my stance on conspiracies. Here's what I thought. I thought his conspiracy thing was very logical in a time of, because right, he's saying, show me the evidence, show me the actual person that's conspiring, and I'll hop on the bandwagon. But before you do that, I'm not gonna hop on the bandwagon. I think that's the right frame of mind to have when authorities are trustworthy and when authorities don't have the ability to hide evidence for 6 months or until the news cycle flips over, or with Kennedy 50 plus years. And I don't know about you, but my entire adult life they've been lying to me. So I'm full. When I hear something, I immediately think the conspiracy. I'm all in. I'm all in on conspiracies.
Yeah, I think, well, he probably sees so many crosses uh, desk that he's really got to have a way of ciphering which ones are creditable, right?
Yeah.
You couldn't talk about all of them. You have to have a pretty strategic plan of deciding which ones you're gonna at least give thought to, I guess.
I think he's more of a lawyer too, where everything has to be provable without a shadow of a doubt in court.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Like,
Which is a very respectable stance. At least he's open-minded to them
yeah.
rather than a lot of media.
What are you a conspiracy guy?
Yeah, man. I always try to, whenever I hear him, I say, this is false. It proved me wrong. That's usually
Okay.
how
So you're
I
a
try to work through it
Shapiro.
in my head. Yeah.
Is there any
I
you
think
believe?
probably.
What do you think about JFK? We'll start there. That's a fun
His,
one.
his
You think the
assassination.
CIA had a part in it?
I haven't heard too much of the story of.
It's
So
too
for
rare.
one, my initial thoughts are, why not? Like, why wouldn't they? You know, but it's like the government agency doing something. If the conspiracy is the government agency was doing something, they probably were.
Yeah.
Those are
Yeah.
when it's the government agency and they seem to have motive, yeah, like a clear motive of why they do it. Then it's like, yeah. But
Right.
like for example, I saw one yesterday that I shot down. It was they're talking about all the hurricanes. Like, these hurricanes are distracting us from the Montana wildfires because 2 months ago in Montana they found the biggest some natural resource deposit that they've found in the United States,
Lift.
and it happens to be where these wildfires are occurring. I'm like, I think it's maybe a coincidence that the hurricanes are happening at the same time, and they are happy that they're covering up that news line. Like, maybe they did start the wildfire, sure, maybe, but did they somehow influence the hurricanes happening? No.
No, I agree.
Yeah.
That sounds a lot more believable that someone started a forest fire. I don't know why you have to
Yeah.
link that to a hurricane.
Yeah, like obviously, like a forest fire seems like it'd be very easy to start without anyone catching it.
So that's the problem with being a conspiracy theorist is your company is you're not proud of the company you're in.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of wackos.
Yeah, and I mean that's what if you're someone who's on the other side of you're getting caught by these conspiracy theories, you want to make more unbelievable ones, so it's hard to find the truth in all the crap, right?
Yep.
And then people make money on these crazy conspiracies,
Right.
so then they take advantage of that platform too.
Do you think Epstein killed himself?
Dude, someone with that much money influence who's like known for being on private islands by himself in private, or not by himself necessarily, but having access to private islands, private jets. He has a guy with capabilities of disappearing, right? So probably it's likely
You
he
think
could
he's
have.
alive?
if I'm that powerful of a person,
I like
just
that
disappear
one.
off the face of the earth.
I think someone whacked him, but that's interesting. I haven't thought about that. He pulled a Hitler and he's
Obviously,
in South America?
if you have that much money and you're doing all these undercover stuff anyways, is it really that hard to disappear off the face of the earth?
No.
In media, like you
Well,
could. He owns private islands. He could be living at another private island.
yeah, I mean that would be
Simple as that.
that would have to be the way because I think social media would find him. Like Epstein might be the most popular man in the world. Maybe I don't know. Maybe the other part of the world doesn't care.
He's literally known for having private islands.
That's right.
What's it to say he's not on a private?
I love conspiracy theories. I bet we're closer to being right than the narrative is, even though we're joking and having fun.
That's what a conspiracy theorist would say too.
That's funny. But so the reason I bring it up, well, one, they talked about it, but also there's that if Trump wins, they're talking about RFK releasing the files of the JFK assassination.
Oh, really? I didn't catch that part.
Which would be just phenomenal if his nephew was the one that broke into the system and said, I'm going to finish what my uncle started.
Yeah, I didn't catch that.
And think about that.
Actually, would be crazy.
If he's right, the CIA killed his uncle, maybe killed his dad, right? Because they were both assassinated. And then he weathers the political system against all odds, makes it in there, even though they kept him off the ticket.
Switches parties.
And it's just like, boom! Like, that's a Hollywood movie. They won't make one, but that's a Hollywood movie.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Wow.
I'm rooting for that one.
Yeah, that would be nuts to see that play out.
All right, I got one more for you. What does your gut tell you about the first shooter against Trump? What do you think?
Conspiracy theory. Oh, these are good. These are good.
Have you thought about it?
I think when you look at the whole situation, it doesn't seem like the security personnel, the event, obviously anything to do with it. It seems like the lack of supply of security personnel is the sketchy part. Like, you can't tell me I could literally, with my drone, with a $200 drone, I could have cleared that area with a software that checked infrared, or had AI to detect anybody with a gun or anyone laying in a prone position. I could have a $200 drone surveil that area.
Absolutely. I mean, I sent you that TikTok the other day of the DJI drone that can just follow you.
And you know how much how much resources they have? Like they couldn't put a swarm of 5 drones together to surveil.
Right.
And also, if you want to think about it, which is crazy, how lethal, and you said this yesterday, but I've thought about this for a while, how lethal drones could be.
Right.
Like those FPV drones, they go at around 100 miles per hour. That alone, without any other lethal weapons on it, that drone alone, with nothing else on it, is a lethal weapon itself.
Right.
Like, you could just run that into someone at 100 miles per hour, right?
Yeah.
And what's stopping it?
Especially an 80-year-old man.
Yeah. There's definitely something in that whole scenario that we don't know about.
Yeah.
That's all I'd say about it. We don't have enough information to pinpoint any conspiracy.
Yeah, so I actually landed with you on this. I thought if there's any conspiracy, it's that there's people on the other side of the aisle that decided to not give secret security enough resources. Plus, that group has become incompetent with the procedures of having DEI and affirmative action crap.
Yeah, I also want to say that with the idea that the other side of the aisle limited their resources for security, I don't think that was with intentions of the assassinator acting on that day. Like, it kind of just...
No, it's probably just like another political edge, right? If I can get Trump to think 1% more about his own security, then that's a 1% advantage I have. It's kind of like that. But so Joe Rogan was saying in the other episode that they didn't find his apartment was scrubbed professionally. They didn't find any silverware in his apartment. We haven't seen any social media, reports, any emails. He was in the BlackRock commercial. I mean, it just smells. It smells.
I mean, the BlackRock
Stinks.
commercial is like the craziest like internet hack ever.
Isn't that
That's
wild?
it's like a story meant for TikTok. The
Right.
fact that he was in a BlackRock commercial, the fact he looked like how he did.
I feel like, I don't know if we'll ever know, but it feels like they found an individual, had some screws loose, and they just nudged him. There's a 3-letter agency that just nudged them towards that decision.
Yeah, could even, I mean, 3-letter agency, anybody, really, any country we have conflicts with.
Yeah.
It's not really hard to get in touch with people on the internet or
Mm-hmm.
look at a subreddit and find a crazy person and start messing with them, Yeah, I am really worried of the day we see a first like attack with a drone. I think that's gonna really open up some eyes.
And you know what I was thinking when you said that was like when 9/11 hit, air travel got immensely worse for us. Like air travel sucks now because of
Mhm.
that. And do I want the possibility of having my plane hijacked? No. Do I want the possibility of having a plane land on a building I'm in? No. But I can just picture a drone hitting someone important. And now we have to have anti-jam or jamming, defense on all the important buildings. And, it's just going to get weird.
What does that even look like though? I don't know how you can, because if you program a drone that doesn't have to communicate back to a receiver
Yeah, like
that has
AI recognize
AI
face.
on it
Yeah.
or a predetermined flight path, can you knock it down? Like you can't, can you direct like an EMP at the drone and not mess up everything else? I don't know what that technology looks like. You're gonna
I'm
use
sure
lasers?
I'm sure there's something out there. I'm sure one of the reasons I think the main reason the US is keeping Ukraine in the war is so they can learn how to do this warfare, drone warfare.
There's
But
a conspiracy.
yeah, I guess it is. I guess it is a conspiracy. They they get to one fill their pockets with money, the oldest motive in the book. But two, they get to learn what the new war looks like.
Yeah, but couldn't they just like do what we're doing and spitball ideas of how to attack? Like I feel like it's pretty obvious. Hey, let's like attach a grenade to a drone. Like they don't need to have a whole war to test that.
So I think they had ideas, right? I think they had those ideas. My senior project was build a drone that could fly over the Australian desert and deliver a bottle of water to someone lost in the desert. Now that was back in 2012. Maybe we were, helping the government with those weapons, not even knowing. Maybe. I like one of my favorite podcasts ever, and maybe we'll do this episode one day. It's hardcore history for World War One and Two, and it's like 70 episodes long. It's Dan Carlin, and he goes hour by hour through World War One, World War Two, and both or World War One starts. He doesn't start with World War One. He starts with the battles that were kind of right in front of it, and certain armies learned like certain technologies just changed the game. And I think this is that. I think this is pre World War III. We're going to look back at Ukraine, Russia, and say that's where we learned exactly how to fight with drones, or this country learned better than that country and had the advantage at the start of World War III.
I mean, I don't even want to start talking about World War III. That's a
You see
yeah.
that? I saw a TikTok. The Russians are learning they're bringing shotguns with them now. You know, like skeet
To
shooting
shoot 'em.
shotguns to take out drones.
There you go.
Like, I don't know if I would have thought of that. I mean, maybe we would have.
I think definitely if we had laser weaponry, that would be a great choice to shooting down drones. Which seems like that's probably a thing out there.
We definitely do.
Like sentry weapons that just sit at certain
Yep.
posts, shoot down. Because yeah, I don't know what your other options are.
Well, I think drone on drone, just like missiles are the answer to missiles.
The problem with that is what would be nice about a laser is it would really break up the drone into smaller pieces. But like another drone, they'd still both, I think, be like falling objects that could, if you're like in a crowd situation, could still mess some people up.
But you'll
Yeah,
take
I
that
wonder-
for war.
Yeah. One of the things Ben mentioned is he doesn't think videos will be permanent moving forward. And what he meant by that is there's so much content being created now that do you really listen to what someone said a year ago? Like, do you go back and listen to old content, or are people just consuming new content? I think even with AI, you're going to see even more content be created, and it's going to be interesting to see how much old content gets uh, watched just in general. Like, I mean, I think back in the day, kids would rewatch movies 1,000 times. They still do rewatch movies, but they have a lot wider selection to look through. So, it's kind of slowly happening.
I like that line. I was wondering, is it really that different than words? I mean, most words are written and never read again.
Yeah.
And then with AI is generating stuff based off past content. And I'm curious on this, and your thought there is that a limitation to AI? I know AI can create stuff, but will it ever be able to create stuff that it hasn't seen forms of?
So the AI that we see today is all trained on things it's seen before. It's not, there's like theories, and especially when Elon gets talking, that it does turn into some type of perpetual knowledge machine where it is able to actually generate new thoughts. Um, and if you think about how humans are as kids, everything you learn, every emotion, every action, every thought is taught, right? But if you go back or you look forward, there's new ideas that are made just off basic principles. 1+1 = 2. If that's where you start at, if that's what you're taught, at some point someone learned more math past that point, right? So right now the AI is just at a point where it's catching up to us, but it is designed to act like a human brain. Ideally, one day you get to a point where it is smart enough, where it can put these simple math equations, these simple math rules together and create and find new things. So it'll get there. I don't think it's quite there. I listened to a podcast the other day, and it was these special I think there were large language models, and large language models are even better at doing math and code, especially because it's a lot simpler. Like English is very hard to predict, construct, and consume.
Yeah, I think I heard. What podcast was that? I think I heard that too.
I was listening on the 4-Year Innovation podcast, and it was this company that was designing math large language models. And they were talking about how kind of these huge math problems that get solved once every 5, 10, 20 years are going to start getting solved with the help of AI models. And then they think eventually it won't even be with the help of AI models. It will be the AI model solving it. And so, in short, not now. We're not seeing it much now, but in the future, the idea is to have that perpetual knowledge machine with AI.
That's crazy. That's like true artificial intelligence.
Yeah. And that's why there's so much money in it. It's not where it's at today. It's the idea of the exponential growth of it. Like we're really at ground zero of AI.
One of the things we talked about, I love the conversations we used to have in college because I was surrounded by nerds. We just talked about nerdy stuff all day. I can't remember the exact genesis of the conversation, but someone was saying if AI is that, what you just described, then it is the new nuke. And if you game theory it out, if you think another country is going to attain that before you, you should nuke them. You should obliterate them. Because if they attain it, then that thing should be able to figure out how to intercept your nukes, how to beat your army, how to beat your economy, how to beat your society engineering, your political system. It's just better at humans at everything and infinitely faster. What do you think?
Yeah.
Like, you know
No,
more about it than I do.
I have never gone down that path.
It's like the new ultimate weapon. Because how do you beat a country that has an economy that's just better?
Well, I think the bigger point is what you mentioned is it can solve the problem of how to intercept your nukes. When you think about how fast this is going to happen, it's going to be like when like molecules like combine and explode. It's going to be that fast.
Yeah.
Because the second it hits that perpetual knowledge machine, that's when that exponential growth
And it's learning every millisecond.
happens. Yeah, like
it's getting smarter every millisecond. Like we get smarter in days, it gets smarter in milliseconds. It's doing like a million computations a second. That's probably that's probably too small. It was probably way more than that.
Which is no, that's
But think so. It's not just it's going to be better at intercepting your nukes. It's going to make better factories, so you have more nukes. It's going to make new technologies. So
robots.
Right. It's going to beat you at everything. Once it passes that ledge that you're talking about.
And this is theoretical. There has never been a perpetual, really anything
Right.
ever created,
Right.
right? And like, is this just sci-fi?
Right.
I mean, literally in the history of ever, how math and science work, perpetual machines aren't truly a thing.
Right. Right.
I guess it could be the matter of you're trading energy for knowledge now, so therefore it's not necessarily perpetual at that level. You're trading the energy of the computing to new.
Yeah, and it's like everything asymptotically approaches a limit for the most part. Maybe there's got to, well, I don't know. Does there has to be a limit on knowledge? Is knowledge infinite?
So far, yeah. So this reminds me, I don't know if you watch this on Netflix, but it's called The Three Body Problem.
I've seen like
And
half of the first season.
I thought it was good. I liked it. It kind of was a little cheesy, but it was basically this alien planet got, Earth was able to communicate with them and they found out Earth was here, but they were like millions of years ahead of us, but they weren't as smart as us because they like didn't have as good of brains or something. And they figured out that they had to come to Earth to stop us from learning because in 40 years we were going to go like kill them and the rest of the universe if we kept on our path. So they're coming to Earth and they have like this they have something they sent to Earth. It's like a little molecule that goes around and follows everyone. So they're like trying to disrupt their plans. And the molecule can go and like mess up people's brains to like put images in their head and stuff. And it was pretty good.
Yeah. You know, that makes me think about like we watched a Starship launch this morning. And we got AI coming. We got robots coming. And you can just see these planets being set up that are just robot factories and starship factories that can just spit out more starships to other things. and it
You
just
get the
like
robots.
exponentially grows.
Yep.
You just give a robot a mission to go colonize another planet to make more robots. It's smart enough to do it. That's crazy.
Especially if it can learn,
Right. The
Yeah,
the
Elon says that the robots and AI are the next evolution of humans, which is the most sci-fi thing ever.
same dude with the brain chip implant.
It's hard. It's hard not to like him, but it's scary to like him.
Well, yeah, he's like he's one of my favorite people. I don't know where we'd be without him. But that is, I mean, we're giving him the most, giving's the wrong word, but he's got control of the most powerful technologies in the world. And he's rather eccentric. He'll kind of just do whatever he wants. In any other
Yeah,
movie, he'd be the villain. He'd be the Bond villain. You want to
but
do
he's
what?
all
But he's the
he
good guy.
controls. Yeah,
He's says, I want free speech. That doesn't usually track. Normally the people motivated to accomplish that have that power motivation, not the I just want to achieve it motivation.
yeah. It's been nice to see what seems like him working for our good.
Yeah.
Very fortunate because there's not a great way to combat that.
No. No, he
If
can
he
do
if he
things only
wasn't,
billionaires can do.
not even billionaires, like a very exclusive
Yeah,
portion of billionaires.
that's right.
Yeah, man.
All right, let's get back to the podcast. What else do you have?
Yeah. So another interesting thing I thought Ben was talking about in the podcast that was a the main point I kind of took away from the Dan Martell on modern wisdom was diminishing return for individuals' work.
Yes. Yes.
Um,
And he added the thing he added I really liked. He's like, if you're doing so much at your job or whatever you're working on that you start to dislike it or dread it, I think dread's the right emotion there. Like not look forward to doing it anymore.
yeah.
You're doing too much. And it's nefarious because he talked about your returns early on. Like the harder you work, it goes up and then it
Hmm.
diminishes and you're fighting that fix you got when you worked hard and you got this big of promotion and now your promotion's this big and it's this big and you just want to work harder because that's what it's taught you to do. But it's a different ball game once you get past that arc.
Yeah. I think something that people who don't get hooked on podcasts don't understand is you really have to take these things into perspective. A lot of the things they talk about and just podcasts in general, you can't necessarily directly apply to your life. Like, not many people are at that point in their life where if they work hard, they're going to experience diminishing returns. Like, that's just like a different level. Like, again,
Yeah.
we'll talk about different levels. These people are at high levels of achievement. So I think, again, one thing to consider listening to this is put it into perspective. Like, don't directly take what they say, but try to apply it to your life and make sure you're considering what level you're operating at. Like for me, I haven't experienced any diminishing return for my work. Right now, I'm like, yeah, the more I work, the more I see benefit from. So I'm gonna keep doing that until I reach that point. But
Yeah.
I do love like hearing what it's like at that point and kind of ways to what to look for, how to improve it, how to let that not trip you up. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so that's just what I would consider thinking about when you're listening to it.
And that's another thing about leadership being so hard to get, so hard finding mentors. Like you have to find someone that's pretty close to your arc, right? If you're getting mentored by someone at the end of the arc, they might tell you, be careful working too hard because that's what applies to them.
Yeah,
You know, I think I've done that and I need to go back and tell them I was wrong. Don't do that yet. Work your ass off. Climb. It's the best thing I ever did. I mean, I was telling that to Leslie yesterday on the way home from soccer. It's like, I'm so glad that I sacrificed everything for 5 years to climb that ladder, because we're going to benefit the rest of our lives because of it.
Yeah, and talking about like we talked about compounding and exponential growth. I think the compounding growth of doing those hot laps early is huge.
Yeah.
Because if you go up in those 5 years, you go up like 100,000 in salary. You could have done those hot laps 10 years later, but guess what? You missed out on 10 years of not only 100,000 more in salary each year, but also the raises you would have got on top of that.
Right.
Like it's such a compounding thing to do this as early on as you can.
Yeah, that's true. My 3% raise now equals more money than someone that didn't do it getting a 10% raise.
When
It
I
really
left
does.
my first software development job, my manager was all mopey and he was like, "Well, here we like to start off at low and give really good raises each year." And well, there's a lot of things wrong with that. He was like neglecting the fact that my new company starting me higher was a bad thing. Like,
Right.
how is this a good thing at all that you're saying? Two, do you not think I'm gonna get raises there?
I think that's
He's like,
that's a great example of someone that is trying to explain away their own situation. Like, if they admit you're right, that's admitting that their
oh
situation is
yeah,
wrong. Hey, buddy.
yeah. And so the guy, so they hadn't had a developer leave in 20 years, and they had three leave the year I left.
Really?
And the guy, a senior developer, left, and he said, "I'm leaving unless you can match my pay." And he goes, the manager goes, "I don't even get paid that much." I was like, why would you say, well, so many things, but why would you tell someone who's leaving that? He's going to literally tell everyone in the office that.
Yep.
So if you don't think that's coming back around, you're crazy. Two, maybe you should ask for more.
That's right. That's right.
Maybe you're the local maximum holding everyone down.
That's
What can we name our new robot?
I don't know, but I'm doing a podcast, okay? Can you give me a second? Love you.
Tony. What
We got a
Your
vacuum.
new robot, man.
you have to name him?
I always wanted to name a dog Guess.
Guess?
I don't know if that's a good.
Oh, guess.
I haven't had the opportunity to name a dog Guess yet, but I don't know if that's a good robot name.
All right, hey, go play, okay? Daddy's almost done. All right?
So whenever say you wanna.
Guess. He wants the name as Guess. Okay? Get out of here. Hey, so Ben Shapiro talked about there's two types of people. There's a family person and a friends person. Do you have one?
Yeah, and it's hard not to say on both, but when I think I've actually looked into it, family person,
Yeah.
I would say my opinion on everyone in our family is that we're all family people.
Yeah. I don't think it's that binary. I think for him is that binary. He's a strange man. But I don't think it's that binary. Who in our family is the most on the scale to the friend side?
I would say
1,
me.
2, 3. Oh no, it's Manning. You don't think it's Manning? I just never forget when he got vaccinated so he could go to a concert. When he just
So you go to the Kings game?
oh, that's right, the Kings game. It's just Manning loves his experiences. He loves
Yeah,
going out
but
with
was
friends.
that necessarily friend oriented?
I think so. That's kind of how I took it. It's like he wanted to go do something with his Anna. Yeah, which is now going to be his family. I get it, but it wasn't. When I think of Manning, I think he wants social experiences more
Yeah,
than
he
anybody
does.
else in our family.
Yeah. I don't know. I take a lot of time out to spend time with my friends and stuff.
Yeah,
That's why I said me.
I think it's
Yeah.
important. I think it's something I don't do enough. You know, so here, when we got back from your bachelor party, I got to think about this. This is if I have a scientific experiment request for those out there that are listening, go do this experiment. I want to test male testosterone levels before and after bachelor parties. And maybe the fact that boys' night is not a thing anymore is why our testosterone levels is so low. Maybe. It's just a theory I have. It's a hypothesis.
Well, I mean, girls somehow get in sync after hanging out with each other. So, like, is it the craziest thing that guys can get in sync with the hormones?
I remember I came home so fired up. I was like, oh, this feels good. Didn't do it.
We were zeked up there.
It was fun. It was fun. It was a lot of fun.
That'd be a good experiment.
I think I'm onto something. I don't think it's the only reason we have low T, but I think it's part of it. Did you?
Another thing that I could relate to that I was talking about was, and he kind of related it to like relationships with their spouse and stuff. But like, if something frustrates you or something's not done right or you notice something out of place, like just working through it, like powering through it and just say, whatever, I'll do it and not complain about it. And that like leading to a blow up or resentment in sorts of ways. And it's one of the reasons why he's like very successful in his like professional life. It's because he has that attitude. But he kind of mentioned that it's something that he has had to work on in his relationship with his spouse. And I
Is that
could
you?
relate to that. Yeah.
Is that you? Yeah.
Yeah.
I've never heard you blow up over something like that.
I'm not a big blow up, but like I don't know.
Leslie does
It's
that.
definitely, yeah. Like it's reminding me of when you would be sleeping in your room as a kid, and Dad would be slamming his dishes down doing the dishes, and you're like, why the heck does he have to slam his dishes down? And it's like because he's mad. He's freaking doing the dishes
He's
at 7
jelly.
in the morning after you just had a pizza party at midnight and left a mess.
He's like, you were
Let
loud
you
last
go.
night.
Yeah, so that's like the resentment.
That's funny. Leslie do that. She'll let it blow up. She'll let it boil and boil and boil, and then she'll explode. I'm like, did you ask? Did you ask for help?
Yeah, and it's like asking for help, but also just like, what do you want? Like being clear about your expectations and stuff. And so that's something I related to and need to work on.
We're gonna be in doghouse after this one. The ladies are sinking
If this
up.
one gets released, I thought that was more of a dig on myself. No, I see. Yeah.
I have one.
Yeah.
Stop. What are you doing?
We got like 10 more minutes.
Okay. He talked about.
All right, go ahead.
He talked about being secure in himself. And I remember about 5 years ago, it was almost like a light flipped on. Like I had success in my professional life. My family was coming along. I was financially secure. And that kind of flip switched. And it is like a huge weight off my shoulders. Now I really, if I don't respect you, I don't give a what you think. And I'm wondering, has that happened for you yet?
No. I think I have too high of goals for myself. Like I'm not there where I want to be.
Well, you have
Even
something to look
close.
forward to too.
I'm
Because
not even
it's
close
great.
to where I want to be.
It is great to just know it doesn't matter what they think.
I don't think I care too much about other people's opinions, but I haven't reached that like point of success, I guess.
She heard you. She's like, I'll show him.
Hopefully not.
All right, what else you got?
The only other thing I had, which I thought was interesting, is he attributed his grounding of ego to having kind of a big family and just being busy. I thought that was a pretty good way to do it, and I think one of the best ways to do it. I'm just wondering if you experienced that too.
I agree. I don't know if I always had the intent of it, but I definitely, after a couple, just like the way about kids, like you want grounded kids, give them brothers and sisters. They'll ground them. Because you can't have a huge ego when your brothers are roasting you. When you trip and fall, you just can't.
Yeah, and if it's very natural. If anyone gets too high, alliances start to form, and you'll have oldest versus two youngest, and it can very well switch who's
Like
on
when we
whose
play
side really
Risk.
quickly. Yep. Yeah.
No, I think it's true. I think it's one of the reasons people are so selfish nowadays, because nothing will change you from being more selfish than having kids. It's like the first part of your life that,
And siblings. And siblings.
yeah, but like your whole life, you are the most important thing in your life until you have kids. And then they are truly more important. You would lay your life down for them. That, like, it, nothing teaches you humility like kids. It really doesn't. I can't imagine another lesson equivalent to that.
Yeah. I could only imagine.
Well, you got a kid right behind you.
Yeah. What you mentioned right before that was like when he was talking, it was I can't remember what you referenced, but you're like it brought back a memory for me. I felt like I like this podcast because there was so many times that like it was like, oh, that's me in my life. Like
Yeah.
that's how it is my I think that's why it really I enjoyed it specifically because it happened a couple handful of times, you
Yep.
know.
It
Um,
hit close to home quite a bit.
yeah, takeaways?
Let you go first.
Nice.
I was the one that forgot this time.
No, I did write down.
Yeah, you got it.
Huh. I don't know if I was thinking of that this time. Anyways, so my takeaway I had was just communicating, being clear to kind of prevent blow ups or resentment. I think I kind of do that too much. So definitely something I'll be working on and recognizing.
I think what I'm going to really take away is your comment about AI, and can it really get over that hump and start learning for itself rather than learning based off what has already been learned. It's going to be hard for me to set that one down in my mind.
Yeah, that's one of those things that I just kind of throw to the back of my mind and try to think about because I don't think there's a clear.
We're almost done.
Lawson can swim. You can watch Carter, please.
No, not yet. I'm almost done.
How long?
I'm almost done. Yeah, I was already worried about AI and robots in the economy before this conversation. Now, if you think AI is going to be able to learn for itself, I don't know. It's like even more convincing. I don't know what humans are going to do in 20 or 40 or 100 years. I just
Yeah,
can't picture a
well,
world where robots do everything and humans are still happy.
it's gonna go back to the olden days where you have a big, you have a lot of land and you farm and you raise cattle. I think that's what it goes back to. I don't know. That's what I would do
Maybe.
if I didn't have to work. Like I would be like, just
Are
try to
you
get
really going to plow a
land
field when you can have Optimus do it for you? Like, I can barely get
and sit
myself
in
to
your
work
VR
out.
goggles.
Like, it's like the whole thing with working out, which machines do for us now. They lift all the heavy stuff, right? So now we have to force
Yeah.
ourselves into adversity by working out in gyms. Are we going to have to force ourselves to think hard on hard problems because robots have figured it all out? Like, it's just, that's weird. I struggle to picture that world that our kids are going to really grow up in.
Yeah. Yeah. It's such a bad problem that I don't even want to think about it.
All right. Call it episode 4.
Yep. That does it for episode 4. Modern Wisdom with Ben Shapiro.